Hello, General Chemistry. This video we will be discussing ion formation. So we talked about electronegativity a little bit. We know that electronegativity is an atom's strength for pulling on other electrons, and we know that it will continue to pull until it has a full valence shell, or it will continue to lose electrons until it has a full valence shell. We're going to talk a little bit more about ions. Ions are what an atom becomes when it gains or loses electrons, because it gains a charge. And we're going to talk about that in terms of the periodic table. So we're going to talk about that right now. Now, ions and charges all depend on electronegativity. And so we are going to divide it into two different types of atoms. Atoms with low electronegativity and atoms with high electronegativity. So atoms with low electronegativity, those are going to be all of our metals, our alkali earth metals, our transition metals, and our post-transition metals. All of them have a low electronegativity. Whereas our non-metals, these guys that are highlighted, these guys have a high electronegativity. So these guys pull electrons very well, and these guys do not pull very well. And so what happens is when you have a non-metal and a metal close to each other, the non-metal will pull the electrons away from the metal. And so low electronegative atoms, such as metals, tend to lose electrons, and they continue to lose until they get to a full valence shell. Non-metals tend to gain electrons, and they continue to gain until they get to a full valence shell. Now, if we go back a little bit and talk about protons, neutrons, and electrons, electrons have a negative charge, and protons has a positive charge. So when you have even numbers of protons and an even number of electrons, like if you got 3 protons, that's positive 3, and you have 3 electrons, that's negative 3, that means they come together to add up to 0, and you are neutral. Well, if you start with 3 and 3, and you are a metal with a low electronegativity, and you start losing electrons, let's say you lose 1 electron, well, now you have 3 protons for positive 3 and 2 electrons for negative 2. That gives you an overall charge of positive 1. That doesn't equal 0. You now have a positive 1 charge. If you lose electrons, you gain a positive charge. Now, on the flip side, if I am a nonmetal and I am gaining electrons, and I start to have extra electrons, that means I start to have more negative charges. So if I gain electrons, I get a negative charge. So, review, we're a metal, we have a low electronegativity, we lose electrons, and we get a positive charge. If we're a nonmetal, we have a high electronegativity, we gain electrons, and we have a negative charge. There are terms for this. A ion is formed once an atom gains a charge. And if the ion is a metal and it loses electrons and it gains a positive charge, it is called a cation. Cations are positively charged. And if I am a nonmetal and I gain electrons and I gain a negative charge, I am called an anion. So let's take a look about these charges here. Now, we spoke earlier about valence electrons, about how atoms will gain or lose electrons based on their valence until they have a full valence shell. We know that these guys have 1 valence electrons. This group has 2 valence electrons. We jump over the transition metals. This group has 3 valence electrons, 4 valence electrons, 5 valence electrons, 6 valence electrons, 7 valence electrons, and 8 valence electrons. And that the first shell can hold 2 electrons, and all the other shells can hold 8. So, what does that mean for us? Well, that lets us predict the charges of ions. We can do that because this group here, they have a low electronegativity. They will lose electrons. But since they only have 1 valence electron, they can only lose 1 before they get to a full shell. So they will all lose 1 electron, which means when they are done with electron transfer, they will have 1 extra proton compared to their number of electrons, so their charge will always be +1. This group has 2 valence electrons, And since they have a low electronegativity, they're going to lose electrons. If you lose electrons, you get a positive charge. And they can lose 2 electrons before they get to their full valence shell, so they will have a positive 2 charge. All of the elements in this group, when they form ions, form positive 2 ions. We can jump across to here. These guys, they're going to lose electrons because they have a low electronegativity. When they lose the electrons, they get a positive charge. They can lose, because they have 3 valence electrons, they can lose 3 before they stop with electron transfer, so they will have a positive 3 charge. This group, they can go either way because they have 4 valence electrons. Sometimes they have a medium electronegativity, so sometimes they'll steal, sometimes they'll give up electrons. If they gain 4, they get a negative 4 charge. If they lose 4, they get a positive 4 charge. Now nitrogen, this is a nonmetal with a high electronegativity. It is going to gain electrons. It already has 5 in its valence shell, so it can only gain 3 more before it gets to 8. So it will have a negative 3 charge, as will all of them in its group. Oxygen's group has 6 valence electrons. It has a high electronegativity. It will gain electrons. It will gain 2 electrons because it needs to get to 8. It will stop when it gets to 8. So 6 plus 2 is 8, so it will have a charge of negative 2. Fluorine's group, they have 7 valence electrons. They have a high electronegativity, so they will gain electrons, but they only need to gain 1 before they have a full shell. Then they will stop, so they will gain 1 electron. They will have a negative 1 charge. So this is what types of things make ions, how they make them. It's all about electronegativity and valence electrons. I hope this helps. Struggle well.